Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Get Your Act Together project with Clothcat. I am Dan Delisandri, and every Monday at 4 PM I am delivering Ableton live course for the project. So this is week 3. Welcome to week 3. Just checking to see everything's alright. I'm hoping the stream is alright and that you guys can hear everything. Hope you've been watching my top tips during the week. So a few days after this stream I will be uploading some of my top tips for using Ableton Live, and hopefully you can watch those as well as the previous weeks. So the focus this week, it's all about using automation and audio effects within Ableton Live. Okay. Before I begin, I need to read you out a disclaimer. So this is the YouTube disclaimer for the Get Your Act Together project. If you're under 18, tell your parents you are doing this session. Feel free to ask questions and make comments, but stay safe online by just using your first name. Don't give out your contact details, and I hope you enjoy today's session. Oh, good. Okay, so yeah, you can hear me loud and clear. Super duper. Yeah, so feel free to post comments as I go along during the lesson, and I can't view the comments as I'm kind of going along, so if there's anything you need to ask me, yeah, pop it in the comments, and then I will answer those questions at the end. If it's a much bigger question, then I might include that during the week as part of my top tip video. So yeah, please put your comments and your questions in the comment section on YouTube. Okay. Cool. Okay, so yeah, so today's lesson is all about using automation and audio effects. So we're going to begin with looking at automation. It's a really important part of music production, is using automation. So what is automation? It's quite a common word these days. You've probably heard it, I don't know, on the news, maybe on videos, websites, people talking about automation. So in general terms, automation, it's kind of using machines or technology to make processes run on their own without computers, without manpower. So yeah, so basically getting things to move on their own. So these days a lot in kind of factories, I think when they make cars, so it's all kind of automated and things just basically happen on their own. You just kind of set things up and yeah, they'll start moving. So this applies to music production, and what we can do within music production, we can get like all these faders, a lot of the buttons and things to move on their own without you actually having to physically kind of move them up and down whilst the tracks are playing or whatever. And yeah, this is really helpful in terms of kind of adding a different element to your tracks. So for example, you can have things fade in and out of your mix, and this is quite useful. So obviously you don't want everything to be, for example, loud all the time, so you might want to kind of gradually fading some of your musical elements within your track. So yeah, that's what I'll be showing you. And there's a couple of ways that you can do it. I tend to do it in the arrangement view, so in this view here. So the session I'm using here is on week 1. This was the track that I began to kind of build, just using these 4 audio files here. So we've got, what we've got at the top, drums, and then we've got bass underneath,
gimmicks,
vocal,
good for the gimmicks,
and then we've got this drop. Oh, that sound there. So yeah, so let's try and automate. Let's have, for example, the drums fading in. So at the beginning, the drums it's just the loop going around for the first 8 bars. So what we're going to do, we're going to automate it so that the volume kind of gradually comes up. So it will start off quiet and then you'll hear it gradually coming in. And you hear this all the time in music, maybe at the end of a song. Song fades down, fades out. Instead of just stopping, it kind of fades to nothing. Not as much probably in the introduction. So what we'll do, I'll show you how to do it manually, and then I'll show you how to do it where you can actually record it in. And they both have their benefits. So if I go back over to the actual part that I want to automate, which is going to be this volume fader here. So if you just right click on it and then click show automation. So if I click, it kind of switches back over to the other screen, and then you've noticed these red lines have appeared on each of the channels. So this is the track volume here, and the main in the mixer section on the channel, we can automate the track volume, the track panning, on and off, the speaker on and off, the X fader sign, the send A, which is a reverb, and the send B, which is delay. So we're just going to do track volume. So you notice it's kind of like a dotted line if I hover off it, but then when I hover over it, you'll see a kind of a blue dot appears here, and it says -6 dB. So if I switch back over to here, that is the setting of that fader at the moment. That's at -6 dB. If I move it up and down, obviously we can change that there. So I'm going to change, and that's gone to 5. So I'm going to fade it in. So at the moment it's up, the fader is up. So I want it to kind of fade into this point here. So I've clicked a circle here, that stays there now. And then I'm going to put one at the beginning. So you literally just click at the point, drag down, and now you can kind of see it fading up. You can kind of see the line fading up. So if you have a little listen to that, and then if you watch, yeah, you can see it's gone all the way down there because that's at the beginning. And I'll switch in between so you can see it moving. So here we go. Oh, sorry, I meant to do that right from the beginning, not halfway through. Here we go. And because that line is straight up there, 5 dB, minus 5 dB, it will just stay at that level. And you can draw as many in as you like, so you can kind of have it going up and down, wherever you like. To delete them, you just click on them, and then they will be removed. So you just click on it there, and then you can see it's gone right down to the bottom. But we don't want that because that will make it quiet. So if I just undo that, Control Z, and let's delete the first one. I'll zoom in a bit more, go back to the beginning. Where are you? There we go. Oh, why can't I see the one at the beginning? Oh, there it is. It's quite small. There you go. So now everything is set to 7 dB or 5 dB there. Okay, so that's how you do it manually. So you literally draw them in. When we come to look at the effects, audio effects section, I'll show you how you can do it so it's really, really quick. So sometimes you want to kind of apply an effect really, really quickly onto your channel, and you can kind of do this just by drawing a really kind of a short line going up and then back down again, so it's kind of on and off quite quickly. That'll make sense when we come to look at some of the audio effects. That's how you do it kind of manually, and we can do it where we actually record it in instead. And I like to do this a lot. For example, if I don't know, one of my MIDI devices or one of my synths, where I want to kind of quickly turn up the filter, kind of do a kind of quick turn back down again. That's harder to kind of achieve just by drawing it in. It can take a little bit longer. So what we can do, we can record it in by clicking this little button up here. So you see it says automation arm at the bottom. So the bottom left of my screen, yeah, where it says here, if you hover over it, it tells you what it is. Automation on. So when that's enabled, you can kind of record the automation in instead. So this time, if I go back over to this view, that's on. And at the moment the fader's up there, so I'm going to turn it all the way down. And this time, instead of drawing it in, I'm going to record it in. So I'm just going to hit record. You notice it turned red immediately, which means it's starting to be automated. Okay, so let's have a little look at that. So yeah, there you can see what, as I was kind of turning it up there, and I left it for a bit, and then I went back down and then back up again. So you can see it's kind of being drawn in. This is, yeah, it's really cool to do it this way, just because it makes it feel a little bit more human. And like I said, when you're kind of messing around, it works better, yeah, if you've got a MIDI device, if you're able to kind of twist and turn things. Or it might be like a pitch bend. It's quite good for using your pitch bend on your synth, on your MIDI keyboard, or on other devices. And yeah, this has its benefits. But I would say it's harder to kind of edit. So you see it creates lots and lots of little kind of markers on here. So you can just click them and edit them. But if it's, yeah, if you want like a kind of a smooth fade up of something, then I would recommend doing it manually, just kind of drawing it in. Whereas if you want something to feel a little bit more human-like, I'd probably record it in. So yeah, that's how we use the automation on there. So to delete the automation, if you just right-click on the red fader, or the thing that has actually been automated, right-click, click on delete automation, go back over there, and you can see it's all gone now. So yeah, that's a really cool way. So, and the other items, to be fair, I probably only ever automate from the mixer, maybe the reverb, the delay, the sends here, maybe a bit of track panning, and obviously the track volume. I definitely would use that. But I tend to use it a lot more when I'm automating my audio effects, which I'll be coming on to next. Okay, so let's show you in this view here. So what we're going to be looking at is applying some of the most common kind of audio effects that producers use within their tracks. And it's pretty common across most pieces of software to kind of have built-in effects that comes with the software. So in Logic, or let me think of some others. Reason as well. I believe you can add some pretty good effects in Reason. FL Studio, Cubase. So they all tend to come with like standard effects units, and you can buy additional kind of plugins and effects for your software. Some of them are pretty expensive. It's kind of another side to kind of production, is kind of buying your plugins and your VSTs. Some of them cost a lot of money. When they first kind of came, well, originally it was kind of many hardware. So when music producers were using effects within their tracks, they tended to be kind of hardware pieces of equipment, physical pieces of equipment, or it might have been kind of rack mounted devices that you could buy. And over the years, like a lot of other technology, it improves, and it's the same with the software. So a lot of the plugins, the virtual effects that you can buy and put into your projects, and they are pretty good. If not, some of them are even better than the hardware. Yeah, so technology moves on, things get better. Things like a lot of things have become more software based. So yeah, there's other plugins, for example, like Waves, really good, but like I said, quite expensive. So you can download kind of demo versions. Occasionally, companies will be giving away some of their racks, some of their audio effects for free. You can download a load for free as well. There's some which I use in my tracks that you can download for free, which are pretty good. So, but yeah, today we're just going to be looking at the built-in audio effects that come with Ableton Live. if I'm right in thinking, with the light version and the intro version, you won't get all of these. So this is the audio effects section in the browser. There's a lot here, and I don't use them all. I probably only use maybe a dozen of them within my tracks, but they all do slightly different things, and it's all about manipulating the sound, changing the sound, adding something different to the sound. I tend to think that a lot of these effects, it's all about bringing your sounds to life a little bit more. So you might have a kind of a normal plain sounding vocal, and then you can add reverb, delay, distortion, all these different types of effects. You can kind of put it in there, and it changes the sound. And yeah, all music producers use them. So when you listen to pieces of music, you might not notice them, but they are there, and yeah, they bring the track to life, you could say. The main ones we're going to be looking at today, and I use these in all of my tracks, and I strongly recommend doing your research and looking into them in a lot more detail. The ones that we're going to be using are, first one we're going to do is looking at some reverb, so adding reverb to your track, and then we'll look at some delay, adding a delay, chorus as well, and the auto filter, or the filter. I've chosen those because they do come with the intro version and the light version of Ableton. So this applies, you can use these within your pieces of software. So yeah, let's begin with looking at some reverb. So I want to add a bit of reverb to, let's have a look, let's add it to the vocal. So we've got this vocal here.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
So it has got some effect on it anyway. I think within the original audio file, there is an effect already kind of on there, kind of built into it, which the producer, whoever made this vocal here, has added. Again, with a pack, sometimes you can download a dry version of it or a wet version of it. So dry version, it hasn't got any effects, it's just a vocal or just a sound or whatever it is, or the wet effect will have some sort of delay or maybe some reverb or something like that. So let's add the reverb. This is something I will show you at a later date, but you can add like your favourite effects kind of folders here as well. So I've got a reverb and delay, EQ, all these ones here. So I've just added this one today, this demo one here, and we're going to be looking at the reverb. So it's the same as when you kind of add an audio file into your project. It's just dragging and dropping. Try not to double click. Like I said in previous lessons, if you double click, you start creating multiple things and you can kind of freak your computer out a bit. So let's just drag and drop for now. So we'll drag and drop the reverb onto this vocal here, and then instantly it appears at the bottom here. So these are all the settings that we can change on here.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks.
So you can hear already it's added a little bit of reverb on there. I want to change it so you can actually hear the difference a bit. So the dry wet signal, the pot here, if I turn it all the way down, it will just be the original.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
So you can hear, just by me turning it up there, you can hear it kind of adds, you can hear the change in the sound from me using the reverb. So to explain what reverb is, the kind of best way I kind of can explain it, it's kind of the environment of the room that you're in. So and you'll see it a lot if you look at the presets within the reverb section here. It kind of gives you a hall with different hall types, room types, different space, and special as well. So these are kind of the special ones that you can add. Yeah, so these presets are quite good to use just to kind of hear what the different environments sound like. So, and yeah, so adding reverb, if you think about it, if you make a noise in a building, depending on the size of the room, it will sound different, and that's what the kind of reverb is emulating. So yeah, you can use these presets, but for now I'm just going to show you how to change some of these settings on here so we can change the sound of this vocal here. So I'm just gonna loop it. So highlight that audio file there, click the loop button, or Command and L. There we go, and we've set a loop here now.
Good for the gimmicks.
It's quite good, so I don't have to keep stopping it.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
So we'll change the decay time.
I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
These are quite good to use to kind of hear how long it kind of lasts for, the scale of it.
For the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for
We can have it so it's low cut.
I'm good for the gimmicks.
Take off so it's just a
I'm good for the gimmicks.
low cut filter on there.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
So yeah, I mean it's a matter of just kind of changing some of the pots on here, so the parameters to your liking. Like with a lot of other kind of effects and things that you use, it's all about what you like. And if you like the sound of something, use it. Or if it sounds a bit too much, a bit too intense, then yeah, don't use it or change it. The pre-delay is quite interesting. It basically how long it takes for the actual reverb to take effect on the actual audio channel. So if we have it on,
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
make it a bit more intense.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
So here, if I turn it all the way up here, it kind of, you hear the normal vocal first and then it kicks in, or you can kind of have it straight away. So this is like basically the number of milliseconds until it actually kicks in.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks.
Or off, and it'll be, you'll hear it straight away.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
There you go. So yeah, have a little mess around with reverb. And in terms of vocals, I might just put a little bit on, maybe have it a little bit nearer to the actual dry signal than the wet signal.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
There you go. So you get the idea just by using that. And yeah, have a little mess around with the presets. Like a lot of the other ways of changing things within Ableton, if you click on this circle here, and then it kind of swap in audio effect, so we can go to reverb, let's change it to a concert hall, press enter, and then you can use the arrows and just change it by pressing up and down and then enter. So there you go. So that's kind of swapping and changing different presets for the delay. And then, I mean, I often put a preset on and then change it around a little bit, just so it doesn't sound exactly like the preset. And yeah, kind of change it to my liking, really. Okay, so next we'll look at a delay. Let's use a delay device on there. So let's find it's the simple delay. So the simple delay, that should be in your version of Ableton. So just drag and drop it over. And then best way to explain delay, I kind of think if you're on top of a mountain, on top of a hill, and you shout out, hello, and then it kind of repeats and repeats and repeats, but gradually gets quieter and quieter. That's how I kind of explain delay. So it just kind of repeats the signal again and again. And obviously you can tell the software to last, I don't know, just a couple of seconds, or it can last a few seconds, or much longer, so it can have like a tail. And I use it all the time, delay, within my tracks along my sound. So I tend to use it a lot, for example, if going into like a breakdown or something, maybe it was like a snare or a vocal or some sort of sound within my track, and then it goes into the breakdown, then I kind of apply the delay, I automate the delay so that it kind of comes in, and then it kind of carries on, and I'll show you how to do that next. But yeah, to explain the delay, you can kind of have the delay time on the left and the right, they can be different, so that they kind of bounce off each other, I guess you could say. At the moment on the left, it's it says over the actual beat division, so that's in 4s, and then the one underneath is in 6s. And at the moment you should be able to hear it, but the feedback you won't be able to. It won't carry on. It will just repeat, but it won't kind of carry on for very long. Let's have a little listen.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
So let's change that to 2.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm 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 good for the gimmicks.
So yeah, that's without any feedback on there. So this time let's add a little bit of feedback on there, and it will last a little bit longer this time.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks.
And even when you press stop, you can kind of hear it kind of fading out gradually. So let's have a go this time. I'm going to add I'm going to automate the dry wet signal, so that when you kind of get to this little section here, you'll still be able to hear the vocal kind of gradually fading out. You won't be able to see it unless you bounced it down, but don't worry about that. We'll just automate it so that you'll be able to hear the delay kind of carrying on after. So the best way to do this is to automate by right clicking on the dry wet where it says show automation, and then this is the dry wet here where it says dry wet. That is this here. At the moment it's set to 50%. The feedback as well, yeah, that's set to about the same. So instead of kind of having a slow kind of gradual kind of fade up of a delay, we're going to kind of have it come straight in just for this last
mix.
Let's have it gimmicks, this one here. Let's have it kind of come in there. So if I'm just going to drag a dot there, let's have, so that's where I want it to come in. So put a dot there, put one there. There we go. And then I'm going to have it fade back down again to about here. So let's bring that back down. So then when the vocal comes back in, you won't be able to hear the delay, but you'll hear it kind of fading in. And I'm going to make this really, really, really steep. So it's just kind of straight in. So that literally just kind of pop straight up, and then you'll hear the delay. Okay, so I'll zoom out a bit so you can hear.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
I might even have that go up a bit more intense, a little bit higher. Let's go up there, and then maybe have this, draw another dot, so it's not as slow. It kind of goes down to about there, and then it goes down much quicker. So let's have a listen to that.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
And then it just kind of fades to nothing. So yeah, that's quite a cool way of doing that. And yeah, change the automation to your liking, really. To explain something else a little bit more about delay at the moment, this is kind of set to a kind of a fixed time. So like I said here, this is in 4s and in 8ths, or kind of quarters and 8ths. There's a way you can kind of work it out mathematically. So if you kind of change it to the time, so that they're basically you're changing the actual milliseconds instead. That's how it kind of works it out anyway, if it was kind of synchronized or synced. But this time we're going to work it out so it's in milliseconds instead. So a little bit of maths. What you have to do, you have to divide, so you have to do 60,000 divided by the BPM that you're writing at. So you might be writing something much slower, so like hip hop at around 90 or 100 beats per minute. It might be something much faster, like drum and bass, which is 150, 160 beats per minute or faster. But this one here, this tracker here, it's 120 beats per minute. So what we're going to do here, if you just go open up a calculator and then divide 60,000, oops, not that much, 60 by 120. What does that give us? 500. Okay. Then what you have to do, you have to divide it by a multiple of 2. So let's divide it by 2. What do we get? 250. So if we did it by 4, it would be 125. So I'll just go back over to here, and then we'll change these settings. Let's put one at a good way to get it accurate, actually. Let's just type it in. So you click on where you want to type, and just type in 125, and then let's put one underneath at 250. And let's have a listen to what that sounds like. The time delay's disappeared now, so if I just right click, actually no, we can do it this way, over here. So you see, because that's been automated, a little red circle will appear next to what has been automated. So there might be loads of different things I've automated on that device. So I'm just going to click with dry and wet, and then...
Good for the gimmicks, I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks, I'm good for the gimmicks.
So that sounded a bit weird then, didn't it? Let's have a feedback last a little bit longer this time. Let's just go straight.
I'm good for the gimmicks.
Yeah, sounds a little bit different, doesn't it, that way? Or you could have it in other multiples, whatever you like, really. So that's the other way that originally that's how a lot of the delay units kind of worked. You had to kind of work out the time, the actual delay time, doing it that way. But I sometimes do it that way, but I often just use these kind of settings here to kind of click in the actual time on there. You can just have it so that they're linked and they're both together, so they're both
good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
There you go. So yeah, that's how you use the kind of delays on there. There is another on the full version as well. There's another delay called the ping pong delay. That's one I tend to use a lot more. Think of it like a ping pong table. It kind of goes from side to side. The delay goes from like left to right, left to right. And you can basically, yeah, again, you can change all the settings to as you want. Okay, so the next device I'm going to add on, let's add some chorus. Okay, so here's the chorus device. Here, let's put that on the bass this time. Oops, so let's go back to, let's move that onto this device here. So I've just moved it over. Yeah, it's not on there anymore. It's on here. So the way to kind of explain what chorus is, how it kind of works is, I mean, there's other similar devices. There's like a flanger, you can get a phaser, are quite similar kind of effects that you can kind of use, but chorus tends to be, if you're a kind of guitarist or in a band, you've probably seen it on effects pedals or amps, and so it's quite commonly kind of used within kind of rock-based music, guitar-based music. And what it kind of does, to kind of explain it, it kind of splits the signal into multiple voices and then kind of modulates their pitch, and it kind of delays, kind of puts off delays the kind of signal, so it kind of creates a kind of a weird kind of slightly different version of the signal. So that's what that sounds like. Let's loop this bass line here. So let's hear the bass line first without it. So if I'm just going to bypass this effect here. And the cool thing here is you can change the kind of the modulation of the sound. Let's turn this sound up a bit. So this little circle I'm moving around here is changing the rate and the amount. So if you go up, obviously it changes the amount. or if you go left and right, it changes the rate. So yeah, so it's just kind of altering the sound a little bit. Maybe it doesn't work that great on that sound there, but again, yeah, it's really good to use with kind of if you've got any guitars in your tracks, any kind of synths. Again, with vocals, it's nice just to put a little bit of chorus on top of it, because it kind of duplicates it, creates like another version, like another signal of your audio file, and it just kind of makes it sound, a bit more open, you could say. This gives, again, a bit more life to your sounds there. Okay, so that's using chorus. Same with anything, just put it on there, put it on your tracks. You might just want to have a little bit of chorus on there, and then change it to what you need really. The next effect I'm going to add is the auto filter, and I use this a lot, and within most commonly in my drums really. So let's put it onto my drums here. Just drag and drop it, auto filter, there we go. You might have seen something like this in the past in EQ, and it kind of works in a similar way. You can achieve the same results or similar results from using just EQ and like an 8-band EQ where you can kind of sweep through the actual frequencies. So to kind of get an idea of what that sounds like. So here it's just the kind of the lower frequencies which are audible, and then you kind of gradually sweep through, and then this way you'll hear everything that's on there. This is quite a common sound in dance music, within DJing, where on DJ decks, on mixers, most of them have like a kind of a filter sweep option where you can kind of have a high pass where it's just the higher frequencies that pass through, or a low pass filter where it's the lower frequencies that pass through. But within this you can change the different types of the filter on here. So the first one here is a low pass filter, and the next one along is a high pass filter. You can kind of see there. We've then got a band pass filter. So it kind of goes from really low to mid to really kind of tinny. We've then got a notch filter, as it kind of looks like a notch. That's quite cool. And then we've got kind of the morph. So with the morph, kind of see that there. So that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to automate it so that we just do a kind of what should we do? A high pass. Yeah, the high pass sounds pretty cool. So as before, let's just go to the channel here. So I just want to automate this, do a little filter sweep here on this section here where we're going to start a little breakdown. So click on the channel. At the moment, that's automating a filter type. So we could select from here. These are all the items that you can automate on that effects unit. So I just want to automate the frequency, so that when I'm kind of turning that up and down, it kind of sweeps through the frequency. So that's what it will sound like. Normally, let's turn the resonance down a little bit. Okay, so we could just right click on there, show automation, or on here, we're going to change the frequency. Yeah, we've got it set to frequency. So let's change that. At the moment, it's all the way down. You can see that pot's all the way down there. So let's just click on there, and then we're going to do a filter sweep there, and then when the track comes back in, it will sound normal again. So do a dot at each side, and we do like a kind of triangle. There you go, that sounded pretty cool. We could, if we wanted to, we could copy this automation here onto the vocal underneath. And obviously you need to make sure you've got the device copied onto the same track as well. So if you just right click, you can have it. The cool thing about doing it this way is it kind of saves all you might have a specific kind of setting on here that you've, or kind of way that you've set it up, and you want to apply that to a different channel. So just right click, copy, then click on the device underneath, right click, paste, and there you go. And it has even, let's see if it show the automation. Yeah, so it copied everything exactly the same. That's really, really handy little tip there. So let's have a little listen to what that sounds like. Let's give it a little bit of a lead up, take the loop off.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks.
There you go. So that's kind of using the automation within the effects channels, so the effects devices, and yeah, you can create some pretty cool sounds in there, I think. Just one more thing as well, there's also, you can add some LFO to the filter effect as well, which is quite cool. So let's add, if I turn this up here, you should be able to hear it. I'm just going to loop this over by pressing Command and L on the actual audio file at the top.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
If I take off the automation here,
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
so you can kind of hear, that's why it's kind of called auto filter. You can kind of, using the LFO here, you can kind of have it so that it kind of auto filters. So it kind of does it itself. So there might be certain sounds that you kind of want to have it kind of filter in a little bit on its own. So you might want to have it kind of much longer. So using that's quite good if you want to kind of use that kind of type of effect. So you don't have to automate it all, so it kind of sweeps, it kind of does it on its own. But yeah, you do have to adjust the frequency here to kind of hear it properly. Okay, so that's using the auto filter. So yeah, so we've just looked at those three effects types. There is another way that we can apply effects to our channels, and this is by using, and we haven't really looked at this yet, but using these send channels here. So at the moment, A and B, A is reverb and B is delay, and this is basically applies to these pots here. So A and B, A and B, A and B. Within my version of Ableton, I can add absolutely loads and loads. Depending on the version, you are limited onto how many channels you can add within the software. So the basic version, I think you can only add kind of two types of send effects. The way we've been doing it up until now is by adding the effect directly onto the channel. In terms of using that's great. That's how I tend to do it a lot. That kind of affects the whole audio signal completely, you could say. Whereas when you use send effects, it kind of changes the audio signal without kind of eliminating the original kind of sound. So it's a bit more of a subtle way of doing it, you could say. So we could just add a little bit of reverb onto this vocal here, and you could apply that same amount of reverb on if you had other vocals or other instruments on there. Let's just delete this out for now, unsolo that, and then on here I'm just going to turn the send up on. I haven't changed the settings on this, but so we're going to add a bit more reverb onto the vocal here. Let's just loop this section here so we can hear it.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
You can see that the signal's coming through here now,
I'm good for the gimmicks.
because we're basically told, okay, let's send this signal to the reverb, and then you get a bit more reverb on here. And you can just hear the audio signal on there. You can add a bit of delay as well. It's coming through on there, and then you can change exactly the same way. You can change these settings on here. Just change the delay so it's a bit more. So you can kind of hear it there, and you can add any of these effects as a send on there. So we could put a bit of chorus on. When you do on the kind of suite version, if you just right click, same way if you want to add like an audio channel or a MIDI channel, you add a return track. That creates there. There's nothing on it at the moment, so we can drag and drop. Let's just quickly change. Let's add a preset on there. Try chorus.
Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks. Good for the gimmicks. I'm good for the gimmicks.
See, it's coming through there as well.
Good for the gimmicks.
Yeah, so both, I tend to use both when I'm producing music, especially with something like a delay. If I just want a delay on a certain section on one of the tracks, I'll probably put it in as a kind of insert directly onto the channel. Whereas if I want kind of all my synth sounds to have a bit of reverb on there, I'll probably end up doing it this way. But it does then create another kind of channel here, and then the signal comes through here. So just be aware when you come to mix down your tracks, it will create another version, another channel. This will be bounced down as well. So you'll have an extra, you have your original audio track, and then you'll have like a bounced version, which has got just the effect on there. But don't worry about that for now. We'll look at that later. So yeah, that's basically adding audio effects onto your channels. And yeah, I'll see if I can maybe do a couple of my top tips around using some of the other ones. When we come to look at mixing and mastering our channels, and that will be towards the end of the course, we will be looking at things like compression, really important, EQ, as well as maybe like a limiter as well. Yeah, those are the kind of really important effects that you would add when you're kind of mixing and mastering your track. So yeah, you get your kind of effects that you use whilst you're creating music, whilst you're being creative, making your music, and then you kind of get the other effects that you use while you're mixing and mastering your tracks. Okay. So yeah, I think that's about everything I'm going to be covering for today. Feel free to watch this back if you're watching live, and please watch my other videos that are up on the Cloth Cat YouTube channel. There'll be the last 2 weeks on there, as well as some of my weekly tips that I've been posting up there as well. So please watch those. Please put comments. If you've got any questions for me, so here's my email address. Feel free to drop me an email. That's my website. If you want to know more about what I do in terms of my music, Function is an event that I run in Leeds, and Cyclic is my artist name that I produce music with my mate Rick. And yeah, like these pages. We're on YouTube. We're currently doing live streams as well, so kind of live DJ events on YouTube. And so yeah, subscribe to those or follow these pages, and then you'll be basically updated on what's going on there. Okay, so just to kind of think about what's going to be happening next week, and during the week, during the week I'm going to probably be posting something up around using the MIDI effects within Ableton. So we've been looking at audio effects today, and next time, during the week I'll give you a bit of an overview about using some of these kind of MIDI effects. So please subscribe, and you'll get a notification when anything's posted up about this project. And just to highlight as well, there's other courses running at the same time. So this is the kind of the schedule for the week. I'm Dan D'Alessandro on a Monday, and then there's all these other musical skills that you can be learning throughout the week. Okay, thanks for tuning in.